Hello, welcome to the first, well, the pilot episode, really. It's not even really the first episode of Rokk Players. Now, this is a show where we focus on the game and not the platform. Really important distinction. So we're gamers, you're gamers, we all love gaming. The platform is kind of secondary. And these days, let's face it, it's more about territoriality than it is about reality. So let me introduce my co-hosts for this brand new show. As I said, it's a pilot. Expect some stuff to go wrong, like being a bit late. I'll explain why in 2 seconds. Let me start by bringing a black screen on. Yes, that little H right there is Mr. Stephen Hoult. Where is your camera, buddy? He's got no camera. He's got no voice. And that's okay, because as I've said, this is our pilot. So let me bring on, I tell you what, I won't bring on the other guy because the other guy is doing family duties. I'm going to get rid of all of them. We're just going to do it myself. You know it works with me. So the plan is this. As you all know, I love cloud gaming. We all love cloud gaming, right? So cloud gaming is the thing. And what's really important as well is that we also cover some of the other games that are kicking around, because some of those are very likely to come to our favorite cloud gaming platforms. So what we're going to do each week is we're going to have a look at the wider gaming news and what's going on in the whole world wide of gaming. And of course, we're going to focus on cloud platforms or cloud services as they've been recently distinguished and distinctified. There's a word for you, missus. So we're going to cover all of the gaming platforms, and we're going to cover cloud most importantly. And we're going to do game reviews. We're going to do interviews with game devs. It's going to be okay. We're going to have fun. Now then, I think we're about ready to bring on at least one of the hosts. The other one is AWOL. We'll come back on him. And it is, of course, Mr. Bjorn.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm here. A bit stressed, you know how it is.
It's actually your wedding anniversary as well.
It is, yes, and also we've now, my kids have been in school for a week now, both of them, preschool and school. So we had a bit of a family celebration and hit some traffic on the way home. So I was fully expecting to be home and everything, and like the kids ready for bed like an hour ago. But well, you know how it is.
I know exactly.
Sometimes life
it gets in the way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we should also have our compatriot, HoultS, who popped in for 13 seconds. You saw him there.
Yeah, I saw him briefly there.
And then he disappeared again. Why do we bring him on to these shows? What is he? He's like a household name. He doesn't stream or anything. He just, why do we do it?
But he's lovely. He's lovely. It's for the accent, let's be honest.
This is true, yes. So Bjorn Fristrom. Am I pronouncing that anywhere near?
Yeah, but interestingly enough, that is actually, like, it's my old last name. I actually changed my last name when I got married. So my actual last name is Brorsson. But yes, Fristrom is it's my old Twitter handle, and I just kept it. Just, you gotta keep some legacy.
Is that a thing, a cultural thing in Sweden? Or
no, it's probably more common to do the other way around. But right, okay. I don't know. I just decided that, you know what, I'm active with online communities. I have an in my first name. I have one in my last name. If I have a chance to get rid of the one in my last name, I am going to take it, because that's a letter that makes it difficult for people.
Fair enough. No, that's fair enough. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Well, you anyway. We know you as Bjorn, and more importantly, Dad plays games. And the reason I approached you initially to be a co-host, Bjorn, was because, firstly, you're good fun. And, you know, look at that. Do you see what happened there? Look at this. Woohoo! Look at that.
I wish I could run it, but I can't.
Yeah, exactly. You're great fun. And you're also a lover of all games. It's not just about one specific platform, is it?
Exactly. I mean, platforms are great. Without them, we couldn't play. But, like, it's at the end of the day, I don't really care that much about the platform. I just care about the games.
The game. And I think deep down, we're all the same, aren't we?
Yeah.
Once you kind of get to that place, that sort of mythical place where you allow yourself to drop the whole thing about having to be, you know, I'm an Xbox guy, I'm a PlayStation guy, I'm a PC guy. Once you drop that and it's more just about, hey, Did you see Stadia's got the latest whatever, or they've got the best run of Saints Row or Cyberpunk, or GFN have got this brilliant Genshin touch controls now that you can play. Once you get to that point and it becomes just about the games, I think that's kind of where we're evolving to, aren't we, as a gaming community across the world,
Yeah, absolutely. Hang on 1 second.
Look, I've got. Do we dare bring him on? Where are you, buddy? Oh, HoultS, oh, HoultS. We can't even hear you. He said to me earlier, he said, I'm a bit late because my keyboard's not working. Well, it turns out it's his keyboard, his mic, his camera. But at least he's got his helicopter pad there. Look at that. Ready for his chopper to land, as it were. Let's have a quick, in time-honored tradition, let's have a quick look in the chat. Very early in was my very good friend Aaron, Vet Cloud Gaming. Thank you so much for popping in, my friend. Always there to support us.
Very early.
Very much appreciated, bless him. And then this fella popped in as well, young Bjorn, just to say hello. Which is very nice of him. He's Swedish, and I was.
I think he showed up. I think he's going to show up on the stream later, right?
He may well do. Yeah. He's like that. But it's been allowed me to practice good kväll. Now, come on, that's not bad.
No, I mean that is really good actually.
I'm the non-Swedish.
The proper pronunciation would be god kväll, hur mår du?
God kväll, hur mår du?
But yeah, you're very close.
That wasn't bad. I'm quite proud of that, which was basically, good evening, how are you?
Yeah, exactly.
So there you go.
Swedish is, it isn't, I've heard that it's not that difficult to learn because it's quite, it borrows a lot of things from both, German and English. So be glad it's not Danish, because I think I've heard that Danish, Danish kids are the last, they're the last to learn their mother language in the world. I think it's common for Danish kids to be 2-3 years old when they learn how to speak.
Wow.
They learn to write. Some kids in Denmark even learn how to read and write before they learn how to speak it properly.
Wow.
To be honest, as a Swede, I can only say most of the Danish don't know how to speak even as adults.
Right.
we have just the same as you guys have a rivalry with the French. We have it with both the Norwegian and the Danish.
It's basically anybody who borders you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
the
Canadians get off lightly as far as America's concerned, don't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
All the anger goes down to Mexico. The Canadians get away with it. HoultS, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Woohoo!
Yes, we can.
I think I blew a USB socket or something.
Oh,
I am. Literally, you should
great
see
way
me.
to start the evening.
I am red. I'm sweaty. I'm panting like a pig. I just ragged my PC off the wall. I was like, "Why me? Why?"
It's only the pilot, my friend. We're allowed to do stuff, and we're working it out, aren't we, guys? We had this idea, and we're just going to chill. It's going to be a chill session every week. And we're going to just run through the news. We've got some thoughts. We've got some news. We've got some ideas. And sometimes HoultS tech works and sometimes it doesn't. But am I right? Am I not right in saying, Stephen, that you are in fact a technology teacher?
Yeah, well, let's say your problem solved. Switch it off, find the problem. And
have you tried turning it back on and off again?
Yeah, I powered cycles. I checked my wires, and it must have been a blown USB.
Exactly. Wow. And this is what it is, you see. So we're going to break the show up into bits, not at the moment anyway, not the same way as we do with Stadia Rock Show, where we've got individual bits and pieces, but we will do that over time. We're just kind of feeling our way right. So we're going to start with general gaming news. And there's been a heck of a lot of it this week, let's be honest. A huge amount.
It's been one hell of a week.
It's been a massive news week. And then we're going to have a quick look at cloud gaming, and we're going to look and see what games have come up recently, launched recently for the various services and platforms. So we're going to kind of do it in that order. We're going to end up divvying it up. Young HoultS is going to be doing Gamescom stuff, so he's going to be up soon. But Bjorn, I'm just having a look at the show notes. So the first couple, in fact, I think came from you because you added these in last week, didn't you?
Last week. I mean, at this point, it's it's almost old news. But yeah, last week, the Swedish mega corporation Embracer Group, they racked up 6 more studios, and among that, also the rights to the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's
And
interesting,
that,
isn't it?
I mean, Embracer, if I remember correctly, now encompasses something like over 100 different studios or sub companies. And with a license like the Lord of the Rings and that many studios, you bet it's going to be some good content coming out of that. It's gonna, I mean, it's going to be a while. But I think they're gonna. I think I read that we're going to lead with some board games,
Yeah.
and card games, and then we're going to see the digital coming in a few years probably. But as a big, like, massive Lord of the Rings fan, I'm very excited.
Did they actually buy the rights from the family of Tolkien, or had the
They
Tolkien
bought
family
the
already?
entire they had set up this company called Middle Earth Entertainment, I think it was, or Enterprises, and they just bought it outright. That's now
Wow.
theirs.
Wow.
So yeah, and as well as some big and small studios. So Embracer Group is becoming massive.
I mean, as you rightly said, they were huge anyway. So is this them expanding out of gaming, Bjorn, or is this so that they
I
can get more
think,
IP for gaming?
I mean, they have already expanded to board games. So in
Mhm.
some sense, I think they already have expanded to outside of video games,
Right. Okay.
but still within gaming. But like, I think they mainly wanted the rights to it to be able to make games and board games with it more easy, but also
Yeah.
probably gonna. I mean, I'm guessing, like, if I understood it, I mean, I'm no lawyer, but if I understood it correctly, that they now own the rights to, like, Amazon has to pay them the fee for the Rings
Yes.
of Power, I suppose, and then
Yes, of
obviously they
course.
have a license fee to pay back to the like the Tolkien family. But
The Tolkien family. Yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, so they've
interesting
acquired the
stuff.
rights of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit from the
Yes, and also I think
Tolkien
also the
estate.
Silmarillion.
Right.
So it's going to be
Wow.
some interesting stuff coming out of there. I hope in a few years.
Amazing. Yeah. And we've got, I mean, it's a situation, quite frankly, now. We've got a load to get through. So you'll have to excuse me. I'm not going to do this rabbit hole stuff a lot, but we're in a situation where, truthfully, if you don't own IP, you're in shtuck. This is why Netflix are struggling.
Yeah.
Because when you look at Disney, I mean, even Paramount at least have got a backlog of decent content that goes back for eons. And of course, Disney has the world's largest collection of IP, of household brand IP. And Netflix, really, although they've been commissioning stuff, very little of it, you could argue, oh crikey, what's it called? The underworld, the upside down world, the
Stranger
the
Things.
Stranger Things. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
You can argue that they've got some stuff going on in there, but there's nothing on the scale of what their
Yeah, and
competitors.
I think that's also why they do think, like, so much content. They are just throwing everything against the wall, hoping to find something that sticks, something like another Stranger Things.
Yes.
Whatever they can find that they can build into an IP. Yeah, I hope, like, as you say, it's important stuff. And I mean, at this point, like, it wouldn't surprise me if Embracer would reach out to other studios as well, with outside of their own brands. I mean, they have more than enough studios, of course, but I mean, they could also reach out to, I mean, like Netflix, and say, hey, you want to, like, make some animated movies or something?
That's what I would love to see, because I'm a big fan of, like, Netflix Castlevania show. So anything that's like sort of
Yeah.
anime adapted from a game, that's what I want to see.
So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with this. And I mean, more studios to Embracer. They seem to be quite hands off in general. It seems to be. I mean, they have their umbrellas, and they like to do some knowledge sharing and some resource sharing between the companies, of course. But in general, it seems like they're very much, buying up someone who, like, we want the security of being acquired, but we want to do our own thing. And so far, it seems they're quite good at that. And I mean, they also have this massive initiative where they're building basically a video game preservance thing, where they're, like, having all the consoles and all copies, like basically a big library or museum of the
Right, are
video
they?
games, just Yeah, so they're spending a lot of money on just
Stockholm,
making
or
sure they have one copy of every single game ever released is the goal, I think.
no way. So a bit like the what's it called? The my brain, Google's project, the Wayback Project, where you can go and look at any website that's ever been built with a few missing graphics. They're looking to do a similar thing with every game that's ever been developed.
Exactly. So they're getting they have like a big warehouse or something where they have all the old consoles.
Wow.
I think they have a whole bunch of arcades and everything. Obviously, they don't have everything right now, but they are like if you know you're sitting on something very rare, you wouldn't don't be surprised if Embracer reaches out and say, "Hey, can we buy that from you?"
It's amazing. So Embracer are based. They're obviously, as you just mentioned, they're based in Sweden. We're all that seem to be these days. All the largest companies: Red Bull, IKEA, and countless studios as well.
I mean, you have DICE, you have Mojang, you have Avalanche, Starbreeze, Star Stable. Like I think, and the funny thing is, when you look at Swedish the game development companies, I think 90% of them are based in Stockholm,
Right.
about on average, and 90% of those are based on the part of Stockholm called Södermalm. And then another, and like 90% of those on Södermalm is like within 5 minutes walk of each other. So like if you go through a certain block there, you know, like half the people you see that work in the area are big game developers. It's really interesting. I mean, you can see, like, I think Paradox Interactive, they sit 2 floors below Avalanche Studios.
Wow.
In the same office building.
What's interesting is they're choosing here to highlight Biomutant, which was probably their least successful game in terms of scale of development.
Yeah,
I actually
but
really enjoyed it, but it's not done well.
It looked incredible, but I never got around to it. But like, I think it's one of those, like, it's so unique. Like if you like everyone who sees a screenshot of it remembers it. I think that really helps.
Very distinctive to look at, quite repetitive to play, I have to say.
Yeah.
And I think that's what largely killed it, to be fair. I would like to have seen them come back with some DLC or some add-on content that maybe
I mean, I wouldn't be
expanded it.
surprised if we see a Biomutant 2 at some point.
Nah, I'm finished with it. I bought Biomutant because I wanted to play it on GeForce Now, the 3080. I remember being really excited for it, and like Rokk said, the repetition just killed it off for me too much. That I just wasn't as big as I expected, should I say.
You don't get too far into it, Stephen, before you think to yourself, is this just the same thing over and over? Is there really? But it is nice. I mean, there's lots of stuff to find. It's kind of RPG. It's a loot and shoot. There's, you can upgrade your character. They've got all the ingredients. It just feels like they haven't quite cooked them long enough, which, as we know, is. But here's interesting. So here's the group in numbers. We've got 11 operating groups, 120 internal studios, 850 IPs. I don't know whether you would put the Tolkien estate as a 1 or another 100.
I think that's probably a 1, maybe a 2. But then they also the Biomutant is 1. It's just one game. That's it. But it's an IP.
Yes,
so
of course.
It's IP is big and small, but still 850 is a lot. And I mean,
nearly 14,000 headcounts, probably increasing on a daily basis as well.
Yeah, they're probably at 14,000 at this point.
Yeah, easily, I would have thought. But yeah, amazing. These are the sort of, everybody's heard of THQ Nordic,
Gearbox,
Plyon, which interestingly is showing Saints Row. So presumably they were involved.
And also in there that list Asmodee, which is probably one of the biggest publishers of board games.
Right. These fellas. Yeah.
So like Ticket to Ride, but also
Gearbox?
games
I didn't realize they owned Gearbox, Bjorn.
No, I think they bought them last year, I think. The year before. And also we do know they bought this year Tomb Raider. And they're like so those studios.
Because Tomb Raider, in a way, a bit like Arkham Knight and those games, they're these sort of trilogy things that were amazing. And then they boxed them, and you think, no, hang on, there's years of this IP left. What are you doing? Get back out there. Do some more stuff.
And I mean, they all like Crystal Dynamics, but also Square, what then was called Square Enix Montreal, I think, and Eidos Montreal. They are all part of this now.
This is amazing.
So
and this is just one operating unit within The whole
with
group.
like 10 companies within, 10 internal
Yeah.
studios within that group.
Wow.
So that's the segment. Like Deca builds the mobile games. We have 10 studios doing that. It's huge. So and I mean, Embracer has so far been very, and they have the games archive there. But Embracer has
look
so
at
far
this.
been very embracive of the cloud as well.
What a great idea.
Pun intended.
Yeah. Embrace the history of games. Look at this guy. This could be son of Clive,
Yeah, I
couldn't
think. He's the CEO of the archive, so he's. It seems like
he needs to make
takes.
sure he finishes his dinner. He's not getting his greens. His mum would be all over him. Look at him, bless. This is David Bustrom, CEO of Embracer Games Archive. I love it when companies do this kind of corporate social responsibility.
Yeah, they
stuff.
currently have 50,000 games and consoles and accessories. In a library in Karlstad, Sweden.
These are obviously they're acquiring these. What are they going to do when they get so they've now got one copy of every game ever made, except the ones that only were pushed out to the cloud or to digital? What are they going to put them on, floppies or
I don't know. Maybe they will. Maybe they're gonna ask Google the guys for like, can we have a Stadia Blade, please? Then we have like a hard drive.
No. What they're gonna get is just a case with a digital code inside, just like us gamers get. Put that on the shelf.
Probably, yeah.
Indeed.
But it wouldn't surprise me if they have a blade, like a GeForce Now blade and a Xbox blade, and a server blade and a Stadia server blade, and they just have like a massive hard drive with all the games on it.
Do you know, I love this idea of focusing on studios. We are going to be doing developer interviews. We've already got 2 studios lined up that are quite keen to come on for an interview. We're not sure yet whether we're going to do them live or pre-recorded, because it can take a while, and this can be, you'll see that I'm about to jump forward 6 items already in the news list. These guys don't know it yet, but we've got a load of stuff to cover.
Yeah, we have a lot to cover.
We'll probably end up doing them pre-recorded, but I actually really like this idea, guys, of focusing on a studio and getting more of an idea where they're based, where they have started, how big they are.
It's always fun to do deep dives.
I reckon, I reckon that'd be really cool. You'd be up for that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Skipping forwards, this one really has broken today. Now, we did start at the head of the show by saying we're going to focus on games and not the platform, but this one sent some ripples around, and it could potentially have an impact on gaming. These things often do. Like there's a child plays games has arrived. Let's all wave. HoultS is waving frantically, wondering why no one's waving back. Bless him. Martinez, good to see you, my friend. Thank you very much. Well, you have to take our word for it that that's HoultS in that grey box with a helicopter pad. It could actually be anybody. But say hello, HoultS.
Hello, HoultS.
There you go. It's him. Stephen, can you hear me?
It's not can I hear you? It's can you see me now, HoultS?
Yeah. So while you've got the mic, Stephen, Sony raises PlayStation 5 pricing across the globe, but not in the US. Have you had a chance to get your head into this article?
Well, of course, I don't blame them from a company perspective, because everything's getting more expensive and stuff like that. But as a consumer, I think it's bad taste. Absolutely bad taste.
Yeah. I mean,
they followed suit with like Nintendo upgrade up the price for the Switch, so they're following what the competitors are doing, and no one's really shouting at them. But I think it's actually a very crafty move. We're nearly 3 years in this console, so it should be going cheaper, not actually higher. And I think it'll turn a lot of future people that want the hardware off, should I say.
But Bjorn, do you think it's profiteering? It's taking advantage of where we are?
No, I think it's... I saw one article saying that the digital version was already selling previously selling at a loss, and a slight profit for the disc version. And if they are getting more expensive, they are now both doing a loss, and the loss is getting even bigger. So I think I get it. But obviously as a consumer, I haven't bought a PS5 yet, and I hope to do so one day. And I mean, it's so as a consumer, I'm very bummed about this. But at the same time, I mean, I get it. It's the same reason why games are AAA games are looking towards costing you $70 instead of $60, because things get more expensive. They have to make. I mean, they are at the end of the day, they are companies that try to make a profit for the shareholders, but also like they just try to keep the lights on. And I mean, if this means that there will be lower wait times for people who want to buy one still, then I suppose that's a good thing. They can probably save some money on producing less of them right now, if need be. And I mean, they also have a cloud offering now. They might be looking into expanding that, and if they do, then all this does is basically drive more people to cloud.
It's just shy of 10% as an increase.
Yeah.
Now, yes, there has been, we still are in economic issues across the world. America's dollar's doing really well right now. That's fairly strong. So I've heard the argument that that's why they've decided not to increase the price in the States, because it's doing okay. The pound has tanked. And that's not just because of what's going on in the world. It's Brexit as well. There's a whole bunch of reasons. We've got an awful government. Most of the world's written Britain off. So I can fully understand that the cost of importing into the UK is probably fairly harsh. What this does say to me, though, quite interestingly, is that I've said for a while on all the different shows that you'll often find me on, folks, that Xbox particularly have a strategy that will see them moving away from hardware production towards pushing digitally and ultimately cloud. There's no surprise that both Sony and Microsoft at this current next gen, it's current gen now, of consoles also brought out non-hard drive versions that would only work with downloaded content or ultimately cloud content. So in some ways, actually increasing the price to reduce demand or to calm the market down makes sense if what you're ultimately trying to do is actually move people away from buying the hardware. Does that resonate with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if you look at Series S, for example, it is a console that can run games like locally. But at the end of the day, I think that it's quite obvious that the focus for Microsoft is Game Pass. Period. Like the hardware is just the means to getting people into Game Pass at this point, because that's where the money is in a lot of sense. I mean, sure, they need to keep having content coming to it, which obviously costs them a lot of money. And they have which is also why they buy all the studios that they do. But at the same time, I think the last time I did some calculations on this, I think they just announced they had some. I think was it 20 million Game Pass Ultimate subscribers or something? Game Pass subscribers.
It's huge. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at I think it took an average of maybe I think it took an average of 10 pounds per user, considering some are on Ultimate and some are on Game Pass PC or just Game Pass console. And I mean, it would the amount of money they make per month is enough to finance pay for from fully one GTA 5 per month, including marketing costs.
It's vast, and so when you're faced with those kinds of profits, why would you want to be making loss on hardware when you've already proved, they've proved that they can put their games on PCs. They don't need to have PlayStation to play on a PC. You can play remote play. You don't need a PlayStation for that. What you do actually, but you know my point. And cloud. So they're proving that actually the great thing about the hardware being just your hardware is, of course, that you do lock in your audience. But when you're building predominantly exclusive games, or you're buying, in the case of Microsoft, all the half-decent IP that you can get your hands on, or decent studios that you can purchase, it extinguishes that requirement, doesn't it, to lock people in. You suddenly, rather than being a restaurant in the swankiest restaurant in the center of town, you've suddenly become a delivery service that takes the food to the customer. The customer's really happy and doesn't care that they can't go to your swanky restaurant anymore. It's just a different way of selling your goods, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and at that point, I mean, I think one of the reasons why you see Sony do the price hike and not Microsoft is that for Sony, the hardware sales is still part of the core business, whereas for Microsoft, it's we're selling you an Xbox, but that's just so you have another reason to get Game Pass.
Yeah,
we don't really care if you buy if you just buy an Xbox to have something to play Blu-rays off. or if you buy an Xbox because you're gonna play games, we don't care about that. The only thing we care about you getting on Game Pass.
I think
And
Sony.
Sony don't really have a thing like that at the moment. They don't have that focus.
No.
They are dabbling into it, but they're not really focusing on it because they don't really have the infrastructure for that. I mean, they have a deal with Azure, but it's not really the same thing.
No,
So
no, they've definitely come late, and the weird thing is that they were one of the first services out there with a cloud offering, but they were so focused on their main model, this whole walled garden of hardware, that it allowed everybody else to go, we could do this without hardware. Look at us go.
Yeah.
Sad.
I love PlayStation, and I would love to have. I mean, I didn't have a PlayStation growing up, and as soon as I right, I'm gonna go and go out and buy my own console with my own money now. It was a PlayStation, and I have a PlayStation VR, and I want to have a PlayStation 5 and a VR too. But at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if in 10 years' time, PlayStation is a game publisher and first party, like a second party publisher. They're just like EA or Ubisoft.
I
And they
absolutely
just drop
believe
their
that's
hardware
the way
service.
that's the way they've got to go. I can't see it being any. There is no other
Yeah.
future. They
And I
either.
mean,
They're a bit like
I love
selling
that what they
LP.
do. So it feels weird to say I think it's gonna happen, but it's probably gonna happen.
They still have an opportunity to maintain, I believe, the lead. They've got, as you rightly said, a huge subscription base. The quality of their games, and look, again, we weren't going to bash platforms, but I've got them all. I've got an Xbox Series X, I've got a 3080 PC, I've got a PS5. So I can skip and dance around them all. I still feel that the exclusives that PlayStation produce are of another level versus what comes out on Xbox, and that's just the way it is for now. I know that's not going to stay that way, because of course they're buying up people like Bethesda, and they're going to end up with some amazing content on that basis. But the stuff that they have basically created themselves, even Halo Infinite wasn't anywhere near as good in my estimation as the early Halos. I finished it in a flipping weekend. There was next to nothing to it. But this is an interesting, we're just sort of moving on, sidelining that, but in the same place. There's been a lot of head scratching coming up now towards the end of August. Bjorn, and I would bring you in, Stephen, but I can't even see if you're looking at us, mate.
I'm listening, and my perspective is I feel like there's going to be another hardware iteration of both the Series X and the PlayStation 5, next generation, should I say, the upgraded versions.
So you mean like a PS6 or like a PS5?
It could be a
PS5 Pro is already on the books. I mean, that is going to happen.
I feel like they actually are going to bring a 6 out. I think people's object in digital and cloud gaming is not there yet. Some of us, like us, we believe it should have been here already, but I don't think Microsoft and Sony are going to let that go yet.
Do you think it could be digital? Do you think it might be digital only then on that basis?
I still think a lot of people still prefer collecting physicals and trading until we actually get rid of like trading in games and stuff like that, and rentals and stuff like that.
I think you're right. I think the PS6 is going to be, there's going to be a PS6, but at the same time, I think the PS6 is going to be kind of like a niche product. It's not going to be a mainstream console that people get. It's going to be, as you say, the collectors.
I don't think Sony are going to destroy their options for gamers at the moment until they can start padding out their subscription to be the ultimate thing for customers.
What if in 5 years' time, PlayStation was the only hardware around and everyone else has moved on to digital only and cloud, and they are watching their market steadily shrink to these people that just like to have plastic in their hands? I mean, is that really a place they want to be?
I don't think it's a place they want to be. I think it's a place where they're going to be, and I think they're gonna. I think they're going to continue making consoles for those people, but they are gonna. It's gonna be much smaller scale, higher price, and they are going to start publishing their games on other services.
And David makes an interesting point. PlayStation really do hold the standard for exclusives at the moment, which I find frustrating, as it feels like a rich boys club I'm not invited to. And by that,
David.
And do you feel that way, David, because of the price of the hardware, which was comparable to Xbox when they both came out recently with the next gen, or the price of games, which although they did a weird thing with the pricing on PS5 games, they they were like $10 more than if you bought the PS4 version or if you bought them on Xbox. But of course, they can do that with their own stuff. But it brings us on to this point of the service. So they did this thing, as we all know, couple of months ago now. Well, they basically took PS Plus as was and PS Now as was, and they pulled them together, and then they diced them up into even more sort of tiers. So you have like your basic PS, I can't remember what it's called, the PS
Essentials.
Essentials, right? So it's like PS Plus as was, and you get 4 games a month or whatever it is, 3 or 4 games a month, but you don't get access to the cloud, you don't get access to the archived stuff. You don't get to play the trials and so on. And then there's the next one, which is called what, Bjorn?
They have the extra, PS Plus extra,
and
they have the premium.
And then they have the premium. So if you already had Plus and Now, which I did, you automatically got premium, and you don't get charged again until the furthest out of those 2 services is up for renewing. So for me, it's the spring of next year, I think. And with the premium, you get everything. You get the cloud, you get the back catalog, you get the 3 or 4 games, but also you were meant to get another trench of games later in the month, and those were pretty good for the first couple of months. And then this month, nothing.
Yeah, and I mean, you do still get the benefits of Essentials and Extra, so it's not like they're not getting anything, but. No. This is a month where you would have done well with just having extra. Would have saved you a little bit of money.
You would have saved money. Yeah. They did add some trials, I think, but the trouble with the trials, if you guys are aware of this, is you have to download them. There's no cloud. There's no cloud trial of any of the games, and the time it takes to download that game is included in the time you've got to trial it.
Really?
Yeah, so if you've got a slow connection, you've already lost. I know of some people that did an hour's trial for a game. It took them half an hour to get the game down. They fire it up, and they've got 25 minutes. And then on top
you
of
won't
that,
even get through the tutorial of that.
Yeah, and of course you've got to make sure that you've got enough hard drive space. Even though there were 1 or 2 I was quite keen to look at, I'm spoilt by cloud. I really couldn't be bothered, and I didn't. Yeah, I didn't bother.
I mean, they had trials on the PS4 as well, on a select few titles, and I mean, a bunch of those I was like, oh, I think I want to buy this game, and then I was like, I should get the trial, and then I was like, oh, then I need to clear out space and download it. I think I once downloaded a trial, realized that trial wasn't even an actual trial; it was just like a buddy pass trial. So I needed a friend to have the game, and I didn't have one. So we were like, all right, I downloaded this, spent like 2 hours downloading Far Cry 4. For no good reason. So
just to click delete.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But it still sits in my library to this day as you bought the Far Cry 4 Buddy Pass trial, or I know I want to get rid of it.
That will annoy me seeing that little icon there. Always make me think, bloody hell, they maybe give me a demo that didn't work.
Yeah. You can now hide them though. That's initially you couldn't. At least you can now, which is good. Martinez says, I can see consoles in the future being like the 3090 Ti, mostly a flex and nowhere necessary. I mean, that's a really good point as well. I think in fact, funny that you should say that, Martinez. I would just copy and paste the next item in the general news was that, and my question, which I posed to my colleagues in the show notes. So NVIDIA have announced today, or at least in the last couple of days, the next gen GPU architecture coming in September. Ooh. Amid RTX 4090 rumors. Guys, we've only just had the 30 series, and half of those you can't get hold of because they can't get the chips out of China. I mean, what's this?
It's I think it's like in general one series per year. So there's no way to. You can never have the modern thing for more than 6 months.
With us PC gamers, it's never enough. We have fear of missing out. These graphics cards can last years, but if your friend goes, "I've got a 4 series," you're like, I need it myself. Gimme. It's the magpie syndrome, isn't it?
The trouble is, though, as we know, it can take 5, sometimes even a decade of years to develop a game that actually makes use of the kinds of features that you get at a high-end GPU. So it's all well and good for NVIDIA to go, hey, guess what? New card 30, 40, 90, and now it can do 8K at 144 frames per second. But there is no kit out there that can run that. And there will be no games that can make use of it for another 3 or 4 years, by which point they've already run out of digits. They can't do the 6 series.
They know that people like myself will fall for marketing gimmicks. They'll do a lovely presentation, tell us about this, and people will just go out there and buy.
And I think a lot of these cards, like, I mean, a lot of the cards that don't end up with crypto miners are probably going to like AI researchers, because GPUs are really good at that. And I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen the conferences that NVIDIA do for like the like AI conference that they hold. I think
some of them are unbelievable. Yeah.
And I mean, I think on one of them they said like this new, like basically like AI researcher's desktop PC that they sell. I think it was $20,000, something like that. I mean, it can do in real time what a massive data center like when Pixar made the rendered Toy Story 3, it took them like 3 months on a massive data center, and they're like, yeah, we can do that on this PC in real time, and it would even tax half the hardware. I mean, the electricity cost for running that data center for a day is more than the cost of the whole hardware. So I mean, for those people, like for AI researching companies, getting a 3080 is a great deal. For a gamer, it's quite unnecessary.
Especially with the increase of electricity prices. I better get on my start pedal bike to start charging my GPU. Like, come on.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I know a lot of cryptocurrency miners bought a load of the 3 Series cards. Chain them together to just mine crypto, and that put a massive drain on the amount of supplies out there. It may well be that the next series somehow manages to foil that. I don't know. I really don't know. We'll know in September.
No, and I mean, I did see an article that like a massive bunch of those Chinese crypto miners are now selling those used GPUs. Secondhand.
Oh, really? So flooding the market with cheap GPUs.
Yeah, for like $400.
Wow.
Which is for like a 3090, and that's cheap for a 3090. I mean, sure, it's been used and has some strain on it, but still.
Use 24 hours for a whole year. The taxation on that card.
Yeah.
1 second.
Well, this is maybe why they actually brought the 3080 tier out to GeForce Now. Maybe they just had too much and just went, let's just put it in our data servers. And
I would imagine that there's a custom 3080 in for GFN. I mean, it's not going to look anything like this. It's going to be your basic. It's going to be a custom chip just purely for cloud, and it's going to be optimized for various stuff. I would have thought. But they seem to have coped with, one of the earlier concerns with bringing out the 3080 tier of GeForce Now was that they would actually run out of, the ability to sell those seats, if you like. But I think it's actually been, reasonably selling well to the upper end of people that really respect and embrace cloud, but equally were looking for something much closer to their PC gaming experience. So, they do fill a niche there.
Do you think with the 4 Series, it's going to put pressure on GeForce Now to bring 4 Series cards to the service? Do you think a lot of...
I can't see it for... I mean, how long was it? How long has the 3 Series been out now? 2 years?
6 months? A year for the a bit of like year and a half, something like that.
Okay. And then they bought the GFN 3080 tier has been about 6 months, hasn't it? Something like
6 months to a year, something like that.
So maybe 6 months into the release the card.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I like as you said, it will be 5 years before a developer will build something that makes use of it. So,
wow,
what's the point?
Martinez made a healthy profit. Look at this. He bought a 3090 for $3K, When he got it for 2K, he sold it to some guy who wanted to use it for crypto mining. Good on you. I wonder how much he made out of your card, out of interest. That would be interesting to find out, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean that's a $1,000 profit right there. Then sold it, and then you obviously bought a 3080 Ti for something between there.
I guess as well, where GeForce are concerned, Stephen, there is a limit currently that they've kind of pushed the tech, I assume, about as far currently as it can go, which is essentially 4K 60, 1440, 120, which is outstanding. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's right now, if you look at the take up of 4K monitors across the planet, it still ain't that much. Talking of which, our friends at Samsung this week released the Odyssey monitors. Well, actually, the Odyssey monitors are already out. What they've released is this this gaming hub version. Well, I say released, they've announced it. It's not coming out just yet. Which has, I mean, it's a very nondescript looking standard monitor, but they've gone and stuffed Tizen into it. I believe it's Tizen.
Yeah, so it's essentially one of their smart TVs, but for your desk.
But without the TV bit.
Yeah,
essentially.
I mean, no one uses the TV bit anyway.
That's true.
So I mean, that's true. That's a great idea.
Well, that Odyssey R can literally be a TV. It's 55 inches. So call that a monitor and not a TV is where we're blurring the lines, aren't we?
Well, that's a really good point, Stephen, because basically, I mean, the G70B is 28 to 32 inches, and the G65 similar size. It's a bit smaller. Sorry, 27 and 32 inch options, right? Now they are 240 hertz and 144, so they're pretty decent refresh rates. And they're both Ultra HD, so they're both full 4K, and they're pretty fast. They're about 1 millisecond delay. But you could go and buy a Samsung TV with all the extra stuff that would have those kind of features. I think, I don't know. These are, well, there's the Odyssey R, as you mentioned. That's 3.5K. That's not this thing. That's
but I think it wouldn't be like the only thing you would lose out on if you bought like a Samsung TV instead would be the refresh rate.
Yes. No, because you can get a refresh rate 120. Yeah. So yeah. I always tell people to go for TVs now because I'd rather have all the bells and whistles, the HDR premium and stuff like that, the game settings. I think there's more configuration in TVs than it is just focusing on response time on a monitor.
Well, this puppy, this massive thing, which I don't get. I do not get this vertical. I can turn my monitors vertical and they come back to horizontal very quickly. And I can't, one that literally looms over you. But, it looks quite nice, I guess. But
I've got the Odyssey Neo G9, and that's 49 inches. And I got this big, huge desk arm, and it should be mounted on a tank to make this monitor stay where it does and floats. So with that 55-inch, I can imagine people clamping it to the desk and the desk just rising up. It just, because it's huge. That's got to be warm mountable.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a gorgeous piece of kit. Let's not get this.
Definitely. I mean, if you happen to have £3,000 lying around and you want to burn it or something, a fun gimmick, go for it.
I tried to sell me other kidney, but then I got told I need one kidney to live. So.
I don't know.
You do need one.
Dialysis machine, you'll be okay. There's of course, there's the Apple Studio display, which is, top of the range 5K. It's a pretty gorgeous piece of kit. But, even that's dropping in. I mean, that's about 1,900 now, I think, give or take. Actually, I've got it here. Let's poke it down onto the screen. We can have a look. Now, it's not as pretty. I grant you that. And neither is it as big. But it is a high res.
And it has an Apple logo.
And it has, not only it has an Apple logo, but it has a graphically optimized screen. So if you are a commercial, if you're in, if color is important to you, whether you're a photographer or a designer or a cinematographer, then you go with something like this because you know that this is been designed for you.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not totally convinced if I spent 3,000 on that Samsung monitor, which is pushing gaming all the way as far as that web page is concerned, that I'm going to get the same value as this, which is pretty much half the price.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're gonna spend that much on a monitor, go for the one with the best like color representation. That is, that's a
I
better
mean,
choice.
that's back in the
Don't fall for jargon, because I bought my
Yeah.
monitor and it used the word like 2000, the first ever monitor to use 2000 nit brightness, and I thought 2000 nit, that's very impressive. When I got the monitor was dull. It wasn't as vibrant as I was expecting.
really?
Term. So I feel like a lot of people use all these terminologies for resolution.
I mean, brightness is just one of many factors in representing correct colors.
Very true. Very true. I've been bitten by the monitor thing so many times.
Yeah.
So we have skedaddled quickly through the world of gaming news. Them's the highlights.
If by quickly you mean 45 minutes, but sure.
Yeah, well, almost an hour. It's all right, we've only got another 2/3 of the show to go.
Yeah.
Mr. HoultS, do you want to cover off the Gamescom news, or at least the news from the launch event, which was on Tuesday, I think, was it?
Yes, my pleasure. So, like this week, as people know, in Germany, Cologne, hosted Gamescom, and we got to see behind the scenes what developers were doing for the upcoming games they're sort of creating. So it was a big event, and so let's kick off with some highlights, that we got to see. So, fans of the Frank Herbert series, of books called Dune, will be excited to see the first games.
This one, The Gap, or are we looking at Dune? Because you see, I've got a list in front of me. It doesn't say Dune in it, so you have to tell me.
I'll tell you when it gets to the Gap. I didn't update the. So fans will be excited. Has any of you seen or read the books of Dune?
Have I? No, and in fact, I've struggled with the films, but I do know that they are very popular. This trailer looks amazing, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also in the realm of I haven't seen the Dune movies yet. I haven't had time. I haven't I want to read the books at some point, but I haven't gotten to.
So
it
the teaser trailer looks gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, it's this looks like a Unreal 5 tech demo thing.
Yes. It focuses on a character that's talking about his fears and he's going to overcome it, and then it shows some ships and some giant sandworms, and then it announces Dune Awakening, and the developers actually said that this game is for the fans and it's going to be a massive multiplayer RPG.
It seems to be survival MMORPG, isn't it?
Yeah, so like a mix between World of Warcraft and like Ark.
This is the guy from Last of Us. I wonder where he went.
Joel. Joel's went into
Troy Baker.
I mean, it is just a fantastic trailer, but this is something that's leveled at Gamescom a lot. That it is just really a way of studios to show off their best trailers and their best cinematics, and their
anything to build hype. Anything to build hype.
I always remember back in the day, funny enough, with the big old poster that I've got behind me, Destiny 2, when Destiny 1 launched at, it may have been Gamescom, I forget now, and they showed this so-called walkthrough, and it was the whole thing was so obviously not real. And it ended up looking nothing like the finished game, but yeah, it's what it's all about. I have signed up for the beta, by the way.
I actually hope they actually get the fans hype, because there's nothing worse when you've got a big, huge franchise like this and it sort of underperforms. So we need to actually see this franchise pick off. And then, moseying down the line, fans of a series called Dead Island finally got to see an announcement of the sequel game to the 2001 Dead Island.
Now, just warn people that this is quite violent and gory and bloody.
That's why I never put the link. So, but what I was going to say, it focuses on the main character killing the undead with different, unique ways of weapons and skills, how to do it, and it's very gory. There was plenty of swearing in it. It's definitely
very over the top.
It's definitely for a mature audience, should I say?
I loved Dead Island. Even now, I can jump into that game and have fun. It's just maybe It's just so boys, isn't it?
And then you keep smoking even if you don't have a head.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Yeah, but it's like it's so incredibly over the top, and I mean that's part of the brand, I guess.
It all depends on the red.
It's like The Boys on Amazon, isn't it? You've now got to a point. We've now got to a point culturally where we've seen it all. So if you're going to grab an audience, you have to grab them by both the shorts and the curlies and shock the hell out of them. And those people are not going to get shocked.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it is also probably like it's like they make, in a way, they make fun of it as well. They do it so incredibly over the top that it is, it's not serious anymore.
There's another game that got announced called the Callisto Protocol, and that is going old school horror with the shock factor. It's not going over the top, so it's set in a prison on one of the moons of Jupiter, and sort of all the prisoners have sort of mutated into undead monsters and stuff like that, and you have to sort of survive by what we know as survival horror. So scrounge around for anything to sort of escape.
Well,
So
Callisto was announced a little while ago, wasn't it? At one of the PlayStation events.
Yeah, well, I think it was announced on wasn't it also Jeff Keighley's show on the
yes, it was the that's right, earlier in the year.
Not E3.
Yeah.
It's
just a stunning game. It not only looks like Dead Space and has the kind of vibe of Dead Space, but I believe I'm right in saying that a lot of the devs actually were the original Dead Space developers. So it has that pedigree. And again, I love the whole Dead Space IP. But there is a new Dead Space coming out in the not too distant future, isn't there?
It is. There is, yes.
Summer Games Fest. Thank you, Martinez.
And then we got to see, on a lighter note, we got the fans of the Wizarding World, the franchise called Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts. We got to see a nice, happy trailer of what the students of Hogwarts are doing, and this trailer focuses on the students using forbidden magic. So there's still a big dark twist in it that they shouldn't be doing, but the students believe the best defense,
students do.
Yeah, best defense against the dark arts is to learn themselves. But it looks like there's going to be some level of corruption for doing this. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting walking around the halls of Hogwarts and seeing what lies in the basements.
I'm really excited about this game.
Yeah. I know someone not a million miles away from us actually pre-purchased this game today, didn't they, Stephen?
Yes, I'm a big Harry Potter fan, so once that dropped, I was like, yes. So I'm really happy to get a February 2023 release date. I've probably got the exact day, but yes, that's me.
It's actually over a year overdue, though, isn't it? Because it was due to come out last Christmas, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. Yes. It's been delayed, I think, twice now.
That's it, twice.
But
it's the story of the world. I think
at least sort of delayed. I think the first time it was it wasn't anything confirmed, and I think it was assumed that it was going to be like a certain time result, and then that came and went, and they don't know without any word, and then they announced the release date of September, then they pushed it. So.
I think the thing as well with any of the kind of Harry Potter IP, the Wizarding World is it's going to be quality because the whole empire of the Hogwarts and the Wizarding and the Harry Potter stuff will not let trash out there that will in any way, shape, or form mirror badly back on. What's that? So what we got going on is the standards, isn't it? PS4, 5, Xbox XS, Xbox One, Switch, PC. And interestingly, Warner Brothers are in a process of actually trying to get rid of a ton of their stuff at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that in this case, Warner Brothers is obviously the license holders of Harry Potter, but they don't have anything to do with the development of the game. It's Avalanche Studios, so Swedish, but I think it's their British or American studio who mainly does the development of it. Okay. But interesting enough, the Switch release date is not going to match the release date of the other platforms. And I would assume that's because it's going to be a streaming game, maybe. Because I don't think this will be able to run on the Switch as is. Unless that obviously opens up for the question, maybe the Switch port will also be ported to other cloud platforms.
Well, that was very much the rumor, wasn't it? Sorry, Stephen.
unless you do some good optimization and start bringing that feature FSR in, so to actually bring the performance up.
Yeah, that
the Switch
could
is,
happen, but
the Switch is dying at the moment with performance.
Is it really? It's in need of a. See, that's the
Yeah,
thing with Nintendo. They literally work their horses to death, don't they?
Yeah.
They're not bringing out a card every year. You've got
a great device, though. Great device. Absolutely.
yeah. I mean, it is a great device, and except for that, the controllers have a tendency to not have some issues. Let's just put it like that.
I paused on this guy purely because of the detail, the texture. For me, the mark of a really good game, and I appreciate this as a cinematic, but within a game, when they do have a cinematic, it can't be a million miles away from the game engine. Otherwise, it just
no. I mean, it's definitely going to be.
This looks in-game engine to me, and the
Yeah.
textures look absolutely on the money. You could
And
argue
interesting enough, the
models
last time they showed off the trailer for this game, it didn't look like this at all. Like the character models have seen a massive facelift.
That's interesting, isn't it? Is that maybe why they delayed it a year? Bjorn?
Yeah,
Probably.
I think. Yeah, I think.
I think they saw some criticism about the graphics of especially the character models and faces, and took another pass at it, and did a great job. So
I think it's amazing.
The last highlighted game at the moment on the sort of Gamescom was a game called Lords of the Fallen. So it looks like the gods are back to bring darkness to humanity and enslave us more. Though in this trailer, it shows new heroes who have to rise to the challenge to save humanity from these evil gods. And the trailer, I thought the trailer was
that one more down. There you go.
I thought the trailer was amazing. Once again, it was dark. I'd recommend you put it on mute because there was a song.
Is this what you're referring to?
No,
no, the one below this one.
Lords of Fallen. Thank you. I did think to myself,
but mute it because it's got a song in. Mother by Danzig. It was Mother, dude. Tell your kids not to play. So it was a great messaging to say, hey, this is an adult's game. It's violent and gory. You want to go around hack and slashing some monsters in the most brutal way. So a very dark game, but it's a sequel to the original Lords of Fallen.
But wasn't that like a classic, like quite old school style of game? Yeah, like hack and slash of
And now we go on to Gamescom actually announced all them games that we've just mentioned there. They were the highlighted. That's what the fans really wanted to see, extra trailers and demos. But on this Gamescom, there was world premieres. So we got to see The Gap. We got to see The Gap. So if you click on the trailer.
That one and ping that one in here.
It's a mystery narrative thriller about a man salvaging his memories to see what his real memories are. Because in this game, new research shows that if you change brain frequencies in the hippocampus region, it opens a brief gateway to parallel worlds. So he's actually trying to find out what was actually his real memories.
Oh, wow.
And what was the memories of his alter ego, his parallel universe, should I say. So he's in turmoil. So it looks like one of them games where it will relate to certain people who like this kind of mysteries.
Yeah, and it felt like some Cthulhu influences there as well for a bit.
This is
the tentacles on the map.
Yeah, exactly. Is this representative of the game here, or is this just the trailer? Is it first person, for example, and void of other humans?
Yeah, these are mostly the teaser trailers at the moment. To actually sort of, there was no drops of any demo or anything like that at the moment. It was just sort of like announcing that it's coming soon. Add to your wish list and stuff like that.
All of them doing that at the moment, aren't they? They're all they seem to have all embraced the whole Steam wish list.
Yeah, but like the thing is, if you are like highly wishlisted on Steam, you're pushed to more people on Steam, which means I think there's a direct correlation between the amount of wish listing you get and the amount of sales you get. I mean, I think in general, I think it's 3 to 5%. I think I heard of people who wish list buy the game, and then another 2 or 3% buy them on sale later.
Well, that's what happens.
Yeah. So the more wish lists you have, the more people it's pushed to, the more wish lists you get, and then the more sales you obviously in the end get. So it's like everyone pushing wish listing is. Sport. And I mean, when it's released, everyone gets an email saying and a push notification through the app, and it's pushed everywhere you can. Like this, it's now available. Go
it's
buy
a great marketing tool, isn't it?
Then we've got the case. We've got The Case of the Golden Idol, a detective game which shall interest the hardcores of
Yeah. And this
solving
one is
mysteries.
from the developers of Obra Dinn, right? Which was, I know, Game of the Year for a lot of people when that came out.
But this one dropped a demo once the actual trailer came out, so people could actually try it. I mean, I'm not really a detective person myself. You know, as far as I go, detectives go gadget. But for people who actually, for the actual people who like solving stuff like Sherlock Holmes and all that, I'm pretty sure they're gonna love this game.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who's gonna eat this up with a spoon.
So it's what is it like? Is it like a Monkey Island type thing? I mean, is it? Yeah, obviously it's 8-bit. It's fairly.
I think the way I understood it is like Monkey Island meets L.A. Noire, maybe.
Oh, okay,
Something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
It's got that
Mix of them.
vibe for sure.
I think it's
So
one of
so,
those games where you're going to be collecting evidence, so you can accuse anyone. You know, there's going to be
Yeah.
mysteries upon mysteries. There's going to be a whole grand scheme, but there's going to be loads of mysteries in this, like little.
So this is going to be one of those games where you park your prejudices over graphics because the experience and the story is exemplary.
Yeah.
And it'll probably grow from its reputation on that basis rather than the fact that, yes, it has very naive looking graphics that probably put together by the actual devs rather than a separate. They're probably watching and they're spitting at me now saying we spent a fortune. That's exactly what we were trying to achieve.
Yeah.
But and like I said, I think I don't know if it's the same studio, if it's just part of the team, but like these guys previously made the Return to the Obra Dinn, which was I think like it won a lot of Game of the Year nominations and prizes. And a friend of mine says that it's the best game he's ever played.
Wow!
Really?
So what's it called?
Wow.
The Return to the Obra Dinn. I think it's also like you sort of go through some sort of boat, like a ghost ship, and you see the events that happened before and like puzzle together what had actually happened and what went down on that ship or something like that.
Was it this kind of graphic style?
No. It's very different graphic styles. So I think this is more. This might be a smaller project from the same team or some people who left to start their own thing. But it's. I remember them saying from the people who brought you over then. So
gotcha.
Good stuff.
Floodland.
The next game on the list, Floodlands. Yeah, it's a post-climate apocalyptic city builder where humanity has destroyed the planet and civilization has collapsed. So it's now up to us, the gamer, to actually rely on our primal instincts of survival. And
that's real footage. That's not game.
Yeah, this is what's going. We just need David Attenborough told you, and now humanity have to scavenge for food.
I gave you a chance.
You can bet I'm gonna play this game. This is my style of game.
So it's up to the gamer to shape the future of humanity. Is humanity going to be worth it? Are you going to rise to the challenge of living in a post-climatic apocalypse? We shall see.
So this is the actual game now.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a sim, like but interesting take on the Sims in the sense that it's you're not just building a planet; you're saving the Earth, essentially.
Yeah, and like making sure that people have somewhere to survive in a world that's probably going to do its very best to kill you.
I love the way that probably the tech tree is probably all the same tech we had in the past. It's not green based or anything to utilize
probably
the properties of the planet.
But it's like I mean, games like the surviving the aftermath and surviving Mars is like the same style of game in a lot of ways, and both of those games are just amazing. And I mean, and Frostpunk is also one of them, where like you have this calm experience where you build up the city, and you have your small crew of survivors. You have some events like that you should see there, and like your tech tree. But at the same time, the game is actively trying to kill you. Like it's right, like you have a low water supply. Let's give you a drought, so you won't get any new water for several days. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I love this style of game.
Another survival game that's here to kill us is The Edge of Sanity. Was announced a trailer, so it focuses on a descent into darkness, and what it is the game art looks really interesting, and I feel adds a level of charm. Seeing it in like a cartoon style. But as we follow the character, his sanity is challenged, and we actually get further and further. I'm sure, like, is it a hole he's descending, or is it his mind? but we shall see what lurks in the dark.
Actually, this is gorgeous. This is very reminiscent of Valiant Hearts from Ubisoft.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was going to say I just love the
Valiant-
art style.
Yeah.
I also get vibes from like the Banner Saga,
Yes.
which is also obviously